You're looking for a diagnostic scanner that actually lets you get the job done without turning your garage into a tech lab, something you can plug in, run a few checks, and trust that it won't quit on you after a week. The fear most of us have is spending a lot of money on a gadget that looks impressive on paper but ends up being a collection of menus you never use, or worse, a device that can read a handful of codes on a domestic car but completely stalls when you try it on a newer import. That uncertainty is why I spent a solid weekend pulling up forums, watching how-to videos, and even watching a couple of professional shop techs walk through a typical day with a launch X431 Pad 7 Elite 2026 in their hands. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the X431 Pad 7 Elite sits in the high-end corner of the consumer-grade scanner market. It's not a cheap plug-and-play unit you'd hand to a first-time DIYer, it's aimed at serious hobbyists, independent shop owners, and fleet managers who need more than just generic OBDII codes. The Elite badge isn't just marketing fluff, the tool actually bundles more than 60 services, from ABS and SRS diagnostics to ECU programming via J2534. If you've ever tried to reset a transmission adaptation or reflash a module on a newer European car, you know how many inexpensive tools simply refuse to talk to those control units. The Pad 7 Elite, on the other hand, advertises huge upgraded ECU function beyond the reach of most competitors, and that's the first real differentiator. Now, let's talk about how it feels in the real world. I set it up on a 2015 Subaru Outback that had been throwing a random engine misfire code after a recent oil change. The first thing I appreciated was the intuitive touchscreen layout. It isn't a full-blown tablet, but the menu hierarchy lets you jump from powertrain to body control without digging through endless submenus. After selecting Subaru from the vehicle list, the scanner pulled the VIN, matched it to the correct firmware, and displayed a clear list of stored and pending codes. What saved me time was the guided diagnostics feature, which not only tells you what the code means but walks you through the most common test procedures, like checking the upstream O sensor voltage or inspecting the coil pack wiring. In under 10 minutes I had a confirmed spark plug issue and a cracked fuel injector seal, both of which I could fix without a second device. That same guided flow works for more exotic scenarios. A friend of mine runs a small fleet of 2019 Ford F-150s, and he needed to reprogram the tire pressure monitoring system after installing aftermarket wheels. The Pad 7 Elite's J2534 interface allowed him to load the OEM calibration file directly from the cloud, run the calibration, and verify the new sensor IDs all from the handheld unit. He told me the whole process took about 15 minutes, compared to the 2-hour appointment he'd previously booked at a dealer. For a shop that charges $150 per hour for labor, that's a tangible money saver. On the flip side, the Pad 7 Elite isn't perfect for everyone. Its price point hovers in the $1, $200, $400 range, which is a serious investment for a hobbyist who only needs to read basic engine codes on a daily driver. If you're someone who just wants to know whether the check engine light is on because of a loose gas cap, a $30 Bluetooth OBDII dongle will do the job just fine. Also, while the tool boasts a massive database, there are still occasional gaps for very new models that launched after the last OTA update. The scanner will connect, but you might see a service not supported message for the latest hybrid powertrain modules. That means you'll need to wait for launch to push a firmware update, which can take a few weeks. Another practical consideration is the learning curve. The device is feature-rich, and that richness translates into a menu system that can feel overwhelming at first. The on-screen help is decent, but you'll still spend a few evenings watching tutorial videos before you feel comfortable navigating the deeper functions like ECU programming or live data graphing. Once you get past that initial hump, the daily workflow becomes smoother, but the time investment to reach that point is something to factor into your decision. Battery life is often a silent deal-breaker for handheld scanners, especially when you're moving between vehicles on a job site. The Pad 7 Elite uses a 7,400 mAh battery that, according to Launch's own testing, lasts around 8 hours of continuous use. In practice, I found that a typical day of running diagnostics on 3 or 4 vehicles left me with about 30% charge by the end of the day, which is more than enough if you keep the charger handy. Just remember to start each day with a full charge, otherwise you'll be tethered to a power outlet and lose the portability that makes handheld tools valuable. So, who should walk away with